we're a small group, but I think we're going to get started. And we'll still have to use the mic because of the streaming and because of the translation. I believe much of the session will be given in English, so that if you want to hear the French feed, you can do so on channel 21, right? So this panel is exploring the possibility and the practice of partnerships between public and community media across Canada. My name is Karen Wersig, and I work with the Canadian Media Guild. And with me on this panel is Cora LeBlanc, who works with Telle-Ile Community Television in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. So Cora is going to talk a little bit about her experiences, their experiences in Cape Breton, providing relevant local content to a fairly small community that's not particularly well served by either public or commercial media. And what I'm here to do is sort of look back on a paper that Kathy Edwards of Cactus and I co-wrote about 3.5 years ago, trying to encourage more partnerships between community and public media. And so maybe I'll just preface a little bit by explaining why we wrote that paper and what we intended to do with it. Let Cora talk and then come back with some of the case studies we looked at where there could be better collaboration to better provide local access, local participation, and frankly, local coverage in the Canadian media system. Just to set the table a little bit, obviously, you know, I take the view that public and community media share a lot in common in terms of mandate. It is primarily, in both cases, a public service mandate that community media and public media have. And the real difference, the main difference that we looked at is simply a difference of ownership. So in community media, the ownership is nonprofit and local. In public media, the ownership is typically not local and public, so owned by the government. And that, of course, has, and the other key difference is that in public media, there's a high expectation of professionalism and some pretty strict codes of practices that regulate public media and that are reflected in the output of public media. And obviously in community media, there's more emphasis on public access and community involvement. And so there's a different set of norms that structure the content that comes out of community media. But both have played an essential role in Canada in filling gaps that the commercial media simply can't fill or won't fill because of market pressures. So that means, for example, providing French services outside of Quebec in both community media and public media do that. Radio-Canada, of course, provides all kinds of local and regional services outside of Quebec. Northern services, particularly CBC North, where, I mean, CBC is the only daily television news program coming out of the North. No private station does that. And that complements existing community programming in the North. And the kinds of things, international coverage that CBC does that the private sector traditionally has done less, although of course with cuts at CBC, international coverage has gone down. And a number of other kinds of programming that the market simply won't do, right? And community media also obviously provides the types of services and access that the market will not provide. And so the point of our paper was to say, given that we share this particular mandate between community and public media, and given that there are pressures, immense pressures on the whole media sector in general, and in particular gaps and pressures on public and community media, one is completely muffled and underfunded, and that would be the community media sector. The other, being CBC, Radio-Canada, and some of the provincial public stations, are woefully underfunded in this country. Given the pressures on both, but the shrinkage of local media coverage in general, perhaps perhaps one of the best opportunities to improve the situation is for the public and community media providers to work more closely together to fill some gaps. So I think this is a good moment for Cora to explain what they've done in Cape Breton in Canso? She'll explain where. So Cora will explain where and what they've been doing, and then I can come back and discuss some of the other case studies we looked at.